Hi, welcome to Great Goodness. We're so glad you're joining us today. We have our guest, Luisa A. Igloria, and we are looking forward to hearing all about all the ways that she's creative and all the ways that she shares her creativity because there are many, many, many. Um, and so if you like what we're sharing and you want to make sure you see more, please comment and show the love for our creator that we have here today. And please subscribe so you don't miss all the wonderful people who are coming up. We're really excited about the people who will be sharing with you in the future. Make sure you stay to the end because we're going to do a creative prompt and you don't want to miss that. You never want to miss a good creative prompt, and there will be one. And so we will get right into it. And oh, this is my partner, Karen Stewart.
Hello.
I know I never get this part right every time it's done
We're,
differently.
yeah,
And
you know.
and you can see our guest, Luisa A. Gloria. Luisa? Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. And so now we'll have Karen pull our oracle card for today.
All right, fabulous. So I will tell you first that out of my huge stash of Oracle cards, we're going to pull one from this deck, the Wisdom of the Oracle.
Hmm.
And this is a deck that was created by author Colette Baron Reed with artwork by Jenna Della Grataglia, published by Hay House. So love this. This is what the backs of the cards look like. Isn't
Hmm.
that lovely? So I've been shuffling them quite a bit this morning. I just do a quick little mix them up. And so what we like to do is just pull a card and just look and see what it speaks to us. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can get it so y'all can see that. Fork in the road.
Oh.
Fork in the road. And is it a number 13 up
It
in the,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So look at that. Oh, just zoom in.
Oh, wow.
So I love that there are it's like we're at a crossroads maybe. There are a lot of signs going a lot of different ways, and we have some beautiful golden light there. And someone has tethered this animal to the post, right? Am I seeing that right?
It it does look like it's tethered, at least
So
partially.
Is that a reindeer?
I don't know.
And it
It
looks like
maybe
there's an owl on its back. I'm not sure.
now I have to look quickly. Oh, what is that? Oh, that is some kind of magical. Oh, there is an owl. Oh, there's a lot going on. There
Hmm.
is an owl on it on the back. And then there's another creature that looks like something like a monkey or some
Yeah.
sort of a bird. So there's a lot here to think about. I'm just kind of thinking a lot about this magical place and this crossroads, and everybody probably has their own take on what's going to happen next or how they got there.
Okay, and I have to ask a question. Does
Yeah.
the tether go all the way to the post? Because it looks like the tether sort of stops and then there's the post. So is it going all the way to the post?
Nope, the tether is
Okay.
free. It's a
Okay.
free tether. Oh,
Okay, because
that makes a difference.
it does. So in yoga nidra anyway, yeah, there's a story about a horse being thinking he's tethered to the post. And so he stays. And so when there's a meditation that when you go into it, you're meditating on what are you staying at that you're not tied to really anymore. And so when
Oh,
I
that's
saw
deep,
that,
Angie.
and then that fork in the road, like I was like, oh, oh,
Okay.
okay. Anyway,
All right. So you all, that's some interesting energy to carry with us. Things
yes.
to ponder.
Thank you,
Okay.
Karen.
There we go. Oh, thank y'all. I'm excited about that. Do I get to do the official introduction for Louisa now?
Yes, yes. I'm so excited for this.
Okay, y'all. Bear with me. I'm really going to try hard not to mispronounce anything today. Luisa A. Igloria is the author of 15 books and four chapbooks, recently including Caulbearer, a book which won the Immigrant Writing Series Prize and was published by Blacklawrence Press in 2024, and Maps for Migrants and Ghosts, published by Southern Illinois University Press in 2020. This book was a co-winner of the 2019 Crab Orchard Open Poetry Prize. And The Buddha Wonders If She Is Having a Midlife Crisis, which was published by Phoenicia Publishing, Montreal in 2018. Luisa was the inaugural recipient of the 2015 Resurgence Poetry Prize, UK, the world's first major award for ecopoetry, now known as the Ginkgo Prize, selected by a panel headed by former UK Poet Laureate Andrew Motion. She is the lead editor, along with co-editors Aileen Cassinetto and Jeremy S. Hoffman, of Dear Human at the Edge of Time, Poems on Climate Change in the United States, published by Paloma Press, September 2023. Luisa is a Luisa A. Jaffe Professor of English and Creative Writing in the MFA program at Old Dominion University. She also leads workshops for and is a member of the board of the Muse Writers Center in Norfolk, Virginia. In 2021, during her appointed term as the 20th Poet Laureate of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Emerita, the Academy of American Poets awarded her one of 23 Poet Laureate Fellowships to support a program of public poetry projects.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell y'all, there's a lot more, but we want to actually hear from Luisa today.
Yes. And Luisa, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. I feel like it's a real honor, and it always is amazing to me to see and hear about all of the things that you have accomplished. Because I mean, it's impressive. I think you know that, but what makes it even more impressive is that my experience with you is the way that you create platforms for so many other poets and the way that you are accessible to other poets. Like, I don't know if it's because you're a lover of poetry, a lover of people, a lover of both. I wonder because you're so open and authentic and real, and you're such a gift. We had such a gift to have you as our poet laureate in Virginia. Thank you for all the wonderful things you did. So you can start us off with a poem, or you can respond to my question.
Thank you so much. And thank you both for having me in great goodness. What a wonderful idea. I think we need goodness, especially at this time in our lives. I think globally, the focus has been on so much else. And I feel like this is something we really all hunger for. And I think that's the reason why people gravitate towards art or music or writing, art in any form, because when we're there, I think those spaces that poetry and art and literature open up for us are places where we're not asked for anything in return. And
Right.
we
Ooh,
take, and they're like gifts, right? So I tell my students, this is my 26th year teaching at Old Dominion. But I
Wow.
started my teaching career a long ways back in the Philippines, which is the country of my birth. So, in total, counting the years I taught back in the Philippines plus here in the US, I've been teaching for 44 years now.
wow.
I
Oh,
started,
that's a lot of great goodness.
I know,
Thank,
I started when
thank
I
you
was
for
five,
that.
right? I'm just kidding. But so teaching is great. I never even thought I would wind up in this space of being in front of a classroom, giving instruction, which I feel all the time more now that I've had some years of experience behind me, is not so much a place of authority as I think I see it as a place of facilitation.
Mm,
So I have some experience, but it doesn't mean that people who are in the classroom don't bring their own experience as well. So I mean, it takes a while to learn how things go because when I was a younger teacher, I was very self-conscious. I wanted to have a script all the time. And sometimes when you're so fixed on what you think you want to say, you get frozen and you fumble.
Hmm.
But I feel like that I'm starting to talk about this because I think it has something to do with the nature of art and the nature of what we learn from art, from poetry and other forms of art, is that in making art, you need to be a little more intuitive. You have to reach into that capacity, um, which is not just about intellect or mind, right?
Hmm.
And which is why
Absolutely.
I love poetry because I think it is the whole package at the same
Mhm.
time. You're
Yeah.
not separating thinking from feeling or emotion, nor from sensate experience. Everything is there at the same time. And a good poem, I feel, is a poem that hits all those places immediately.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
experiential. You don't just,
Yeah.
what is the meaning of a poem? It doesn't work like that.
Right.
And and feel free to interrupt. You said this was sort of like a free
Yeah.
floating loose conversation. I could,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
riveted though. I'm on the edge of my seat listening to what you're saying because and what one thing you just said that's not really what is the meaning. It to me it's the feeling. It's
Right.
how that poem washes over me or Karen, you have the saying for it. You always say I'll let that
Oh,
poem have
letting the poem have its way with you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
Or
that's
the story.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and just being open, right? It's like
right,
you're
right.
open. The creative process is open. I think
Yes,
largely is
yeah,
you make yourself open to sort of like channeling,
yeah, yeah.
what
Hmm.
Absolutely. So,
doing the thing that only you can do, and then open to sharing it the way you're talking
yeah,
about teaching it is offering it up also.
yeah, yeah,
It's an open
absolutely.
exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really buy into some people say things like, you come to a writing classroom or a workshop or a program. I teach here, I teach at the Muse programs, whatever that is, something that gives you structure. And you hear people say, you come to a thing like that because you want to find your voice. And I don't think I believe in that really.
Hmm.
I think we all have a voice. And I think our job is simply to learn to listen
Hmm.
more
Mhm.
clearly, more closely to that voice and to figure out what we think we want to say. But we have something, we don't come empty. And it's in that interchange in the classroom or in creative spaces that we feel maybe encouraged to share something we have kept or are shy
Mhm.
about. I'm a very shy person, actually. I'm introverted, which is probably why I do the things I do. When I was younger, when I was a child, I was terrified of answering the telephone.
Oh.
And, to teach in a classroom, I
Hmm.
also feel like every time that I step into a new classroom, I still feel that twinge of nervousness
Hmm.
and shy energy. But I take a deep breath and I do it because I know I am excited to share things.
Right.
So I get over that. But yeah, so poetry for me has been something I've been doing for a long time. I didn't always know I would be a poet. In fact, when I was in high school, I nearly failed a quiz on metaphor.
No.
Oh.
Well,
Well, it can
it,
take a while to get the hang of it.
and and it was probably a test with right and wrong answers. And
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, don't get me
Yeah,
started on that.
right.
That's a wrong test,
Or the
in
fear,
my opinion.
yeah, or the
the
fear
fear,
of being wrong.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the way I
Yeah.
loved as soon as you started talking about the classroom and like we come with our voice, I started thinking about encouragement and like
Hmm.
that's what that to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm on the teaching artist roster for the VCA, and that's the thing that I like the most about teaching is not it's not necessarily teaching the craft because I think that can be done a million different
Yeah.
ways, and I just don't. I can share things with you, but the thing I like the most about it is reflecting back to you the beauty I see in what you created, just to
Mm,
lift you up,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
yeah,
you leave knowing how special your gift is that you have to
yeah,
give.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, and I love the idea of collaboration also.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are doing this as a collaboration
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more than one set of eyes, more than one vision, more than just one type of excitement. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly supporting and encouraging and feeding off of each other.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes, but I think that having a group or a safe space to try out these experiments in
Mm-hmm.
is such a gift, such a good thing. And so, yeah, I
yeah,
encourage everybody to find a group, find a little group, friends you can trust, and people who understand the same type of creative craziness that you
Mm-hmm.
do, right?
Now,
And
yeah. It's so important. Angie, we met on a Zoom.
mm-hmm. We've never met
Yeah,
in person, and I just adore
that's
Karen
so weird, isn't
through
it?
poetry. We
never
met.
met in person yet.
Mm,
No, no.
no, we met,
No,
and
we
we
have a
met through
huge,
poetry.
yeah, there's a huge community. And really, I mean, the good that honestly, the good of COVID is the Zoom connections, in my opinion. Um, so many creative people have met in
Mm-hmm.
Zoom rooms and
Mhm.
been and are great friends. Yeah, and I just realized, yeah, we've never we've never been together in person for, I mean,
No,
in the same room
right.
Yeah,
physically. We
yeah.
haven't been physically together.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I'm sure it will happen.
It
Yeah.
probably will.
Now, Louisa, you said that you didn't know that you would be a poet, and you also have a lot of other creative mediums that you work through. Were you working through one that you thought you were going to be, like, or did poetry come first, or what?
I'm not sure anymore what the order is because I all I know is that I think I am where I am because my parents encouraged me to read, taught me to read very early on. I learned to read at the age of 3, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I was raised as an only child, so I think they were always taking me with them and putting books in my hands, paper and pencil, and telling me to amuse myself while they were doing their grown-up things. And so
Yes.
that kind of, that kind of develops a penchant for things that you like to do. I also was in piano lessons for a good long time. And I think my father was a lawyer in the earlier years of his career in public service. And he had dreams, parents have dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to follow in his footsteps, or if not, become a lawyer, then maybe consider a music career. But I did neither of those things because when I got to college, my English teachers kidnapped me for life. And I think they saw something in me. So teachers are also very important um, channel for you to find what you probably are looking for. You pulled that oracle card, the fork in the road, the
hmm
directions. We have so many that are offered to us, and we're like, okay, which one do I walk in the direction of? So I've always been in love with words, and they plied me with books from such a young age that I became just such a voracious reader. But I think the music helped. It gave me a sense of, an
Yeah.
ear for the cadence of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else? I also like to draw, and I did go into some, when you're a child and there's like somebody giving art lessons in the community, you go and they put me there, and I enjoyed that very much. And I've done that off and on through the years. And I think I stopped doing more of that art when I was more fully invested in teaching
Mm,
because I felt like I didn't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we were in COVID, I started going back to all these things that I used to enjoy. I also
yeah.
do I do hand binding of books. That one came
Oh,
later. Yeah.
Tell us about So you actually have a study guide that goes with your new
Yeah, yeah.
book,
Oh, I didn't
and
bring
you
it with me, but yeah, you can find a copy on Black Lawrence Press.
and and
Oh,
and you hand
I
you
hand bound it.
yeah. It's,
Yeah,
oh my
and that how
goodness.
cool is that? I
That
yeah.
mean,
is super cool.
And my youngest brother-in-law is also a visual artist in Chicago, and he also does bookbinding and many other kinds of art. But as I said, when we were in COVID, I started buying materials online and then working on them by hand. Here's an example of a hand-bound book that I made.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
this is
mm,
Coptic binding. So it's the thing that you bind this so the pages lay flat.
mhm.
Oh, that
Wow.
is
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I not only make them with papers that you can buy like this. These are marbled papers. But I also do a lot of recycled objects. This one was inspired by my brother-in-law to just look around and see what you can use already, recycled objects, and turn them into something else. So this is the one side of a Kojak flapjack box, pancake
Oh,
box, and it's nice and sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
Hear that? So it is now a little
oh,
Ah,
nice.
field notebook.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And it's a
Yeah.
simple stitch. It's one stitch. It's not
Mhm.
as fancy as the Coptic binding stitch. Then one more. I'm not a stamp collector, but sometimes when friends send me letters, and I still do adore receiving handwritten letters,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I I wish I could do more. Also, I vow every now and then I will do more. I will do more.
Hmm.
I'll do more handwritten instead of email, right?
Hmm.
Because there's
Yeah.
such a beauty to them. And it's not something that you can erase easily with a click of a, trash,
Right.
send to the
Right.
Yeah.
trash, right?
And
This one,
and the
go ahead.
handwriting,
The handwriting.
Yeah.
seeing that
It's,
handwriting, I mean, that's a creative because everyone has a different handwriting, and
Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
where your strokes are, everything about that is just another
yeah,
creative
yeah,
expression, another piece of someone.
exactly. So this one, I like the stamps on this envelope, and my friend also had a stamp uh, that has like a political message, like a Filipino is worth dining for. It's a pun on dying for.
Hmm.
oh,
It's too much of it's a story too long to explain here. But what I did was I took the envelope. You can see the envelope here, right?
Hmm.
Here.
Oh yeah.
And I just
oh,
folded
how
it in half
nice.
and turned it into, again, another little notebook.
I love that.
And I
Oh,
covered the
that's,
address with, uh, I guess, like a scrapbook element
Hmm.
cut out from a magazine. And now I have another field notebook.
oh,
Okay,
that
so
is fabulous.
Louisa, do you carry field notebooks with you? Are you drawing in them? Are you writing in them? Like, is that a thing you do?
I have one notebook with me.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the one that I have in my bag right now is usually where I put notes when I'm at meetings or
Mhm.
preparing for class notes. But I do have all kinds of notebooks. And the notebooks that I have now mostly are notebooks that I sketch in or draw in. This one is not something I made. It was a gift to me. It's also marbled paper. So I didn't
Mhm.
make this, but I have started sketching. I started sketching in it during COVID.
Oh,
Here's a
Oh,
drawing of a pod that
hmm.
I picked up on the road, and here's a collage.
oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I don't really know usually where I'm going with that. I just kind of feel my way into it. Unless I'm doing like a real specific study to learn how to do things with the paint,
Mm.
with shadowing, with brush strokes. Uh, and so mostly, I mean, apart from those childhood art lessons in the community, I guess I'm basically self-taught.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So here are some watercolors. I used to be afraid. I used to
Oh
be
my
afraid of
goodness.
watercolor
That's
Karen, did
beautiful.
you see the cover that she just did? Have,
Oh, for Barely South
mhm.
Review.
Do you
It's on
have?
my Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then here is a little stash of persimmons.
Oh, these are so
Oh,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Louisa, I'm always curious. People ask me this, and I never know what to say. Well, I always say something random, but why do you think you create like that? Why do you make 2D art like that?
Yeah, I think I know why, especially at this time. I think I just was really looking for a way to still the commotion in my
Hmm.
head or in my psyche because there's so much going on. And to make art like this, I appreciate the focus that it gives me. I get into that quiet focus time. And it doesn't have to be long, but for the space that I'm working there, I can't think of anything else. And
Yeah,
that is actually, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it is a form of meditation. I don't know.
absolutely. A
Don't
yeah.
even
It
think
thousand
feels
about
percent.
it in those
it
terms. I
it
just,
feels like a very spiritual thing to
yeah, I
do,
just dropped
right?
something.
Yeah. So I'm
Right.
going to ask you the follow-up to that then
Yeah.
is why would you say you write poems?
I write poems, I've realized, because I think it's my favorite way of processing experience,
Hmm.
daily experience, what the world throws at me. And the language of poetry, I think, is my preferred way to kind of sort things out. So I'm not necessarily in the act of writing, I'm not necessarily driving towards a specific goal,
Right.
but I might have heard something or I might have read something which connects with another idea that I've been thinking about or feeling or my own personal experience, and they all just kind of come together, and I'm trying to figure out why am I thinking about all these things together, and I start writing. And then I think in the process of writing, most times when I feel like it's successful, I get to the poem that says what I want to say. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I hope that makes sense.
That makes sense. That feels like what I do a lot too. It's like I realize I'm writing to understand something.
Hmm.
Hmm, exactly.
Right. Poetry is just it's there's so many different things about it. Like you
Yeah,
said, the metaphors and the imagery
right,
and the
right,
musicality of the words that
right.
it's a really open-ended way for you
Yeah,
to kind of channel things that you don't really have a specific grasp
yeah.
on. And then it's like, oh, I just figured out my mommy issues, or or whatever.
Yeah, and then I think subjects keep recurring. I think all of us have a form of obsessive subject.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I recently taught a short virtual workshop for who was it for? Was it to Sylvia's Press or Bellingham Review? And it was called "We Carry Are Carried." And so we are
Mm-hmm.
carrying lots of concerns, lots of
Hmm.
feelings, lots of experiences, but we are looking for something to carry them. And I think the poem is a place to carry those things.
Oh,
So it's a two-sided project. Project is probably not a good word for it, but and also for the last 14 years and for 14 years and 4 months now, going 5 months, I've been writing at least a poem a day.
Hmm. I was getting ready
yay.
to ask you about that. And is that,
Yeah,
And
sorry, go
no,
ahead,
you
Karen.
go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, is that via negativa? Is
yeah,
that
Via
that?
Negativa.
Okay.
It's where they are archived or where they go
Mhm.
up. And it's thanks to a friend and fellow poet and blogger and sometime publisher, Dave Bonta. He maintains the site and he very generously gave me space to share my poems on Via Negativa. And the way it started was accidental. I didn't really know I was going to do this practice 14 years ago. And Dave has he has a micro blog called The Morning Porch. And it's literally him going out on his front porch and observing whatever he sees that morning and writing down a short, pithy, but also, I think, very poetic observation
Mhm.
of the world. And I was just looking for, I think, something to give me a prompt to begin writing one day when we were one of those rare days when there was actual more than 3 inches of snow here in Hampton Roads. And we were we were kind of like homebound for a few days. And I realized, wow, I have time to write. I don't have to teach. I don't have meetings. And I was looking for a prompt, and I found his morning porch post for that day, which involved a woodpecker. And the way he described it was very original, I thought. And so on the comment box right there, I started responding, but responding in the form of a poem. And then I said, "Ooh,
Mm.
that was nice." And the following day, I'm like, let me go back again and look. And I kept doing that for a couple of days. And he's like, what are you doing? Um, So well, I'm paraphrasing, of course. And basically, he invited me to transfer those kinds of poetic musings, my poems, to this other site that he maintains, Via Negativa, which is more which is directed more towards, I guess, towards writing,
Mm-hmm.
because he also does an erasure a day
Mm-hmm.
of the diaries of Samuel Pepys. And he's
Mm-hmm.
been also doing this for many, many years. So we kind of like, oh, we're doing kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
sometimes
exciting.
I get inspired by some of his posts. I continue to do so. And sometimes I'm inspired by things that other people say. And I love the community that reads there. I've gotten to know some poets from doing so,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just great to have another channel of conversation about poetry and writing in that way. And these are sometimes people from other parts of the world.
Yeah. Karen, I know you have a daily practice. So is there, oh, do you want, I
I'm
don't,
just so excited to hear about Luisa's daily practice.
yeah.
Wow. I'm just, oh, that's exciting. Um, I don't, I would love to say that I write a poem every single day. I don't, but I do write every day. Um,
It
Mm-hmm.
is a
and
practice.
Yeah.
it is a practice, and it's Justin Aaron is a man I've never met, but I met him in a Zoom room um during COVID. And he was actually doing a presentation on writing as a spiritual practice. And it just really struck a chord with
Mm,
me as like
mm,
writing daily and treat it like a spiritual practice. Like
mm.
he's, have a
Yeah,
dedicate,
yeah,
like as devout people will go to a church or a synagogue and there's incense or they light candles and he said, you have a routine, honor that. If this is special to you,
yeah,
then do
yeah,
that. And I was like, that is brilliant.
yeah,
Just make that little piece of time to get the pen in the hand and see what happens. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like I don't really um exert like effort to make it at the same time of the day. I make it really
Yeah.
loose so whenever I can come to it, so that it feels
Yes.
a lot more fluid and organic, and it doesn't feel like an obligation, basically.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
actually, I'm excited to get to that part of the day when I
Mm-hmm.
can say, I'm done with all the stuff that I have to do. Now, this one is for myself, right? I'm very excited to get to that. So I've written at all times of the day. I've
Mm-hmm.
written in the car, in doctor's offices waiting for a turn,
Mm-hmm.
in when my children were still in grade school or high school, waiting in the car for them to come out of some practice or rehearsal or other. And so I write both in notebooks, and also I like the little electronics. I've drafted poems on the what is that called? The notes app
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything.
Um, well, our time is getting close. But I have one question, and we haven't heard a poem yet, so
Oh yeah, I
we've
would
got
love
to
to
hear
read
a
that.
poem. But I heard you say several times like that you're an introvert and that you were shyer, and even acknowledging that after after all of these years of obviously being a good teacher, being good at what you do, and you still have that little bit of nervousness when you walk into a classroom. And I thought, how do people like if we're afraid to share what we've created, do you have any suggestions for how to
Mm.
step over that threshold? Like what to keep in mind? Do you have any guidance?
Yeah, I think that I've been in spaces also where there was, like, for example, a young writer who maybe it was the first time for them to step up to the mic and read. And I like the practice I'm seeing now when they sort of stutter or hesitate, and people will, call out, "You got this. You're
Yeah.
good. Take your
Yeah.
time." And I think it's just internalizing that kind of cue. And I guess just really reminding oneself that this is just,
I heard you say was okay, so this is really interesting, but this was kind of my take on that, is that it's a communal it's a
yeah,
communal solution, uh,
yeah,
because it's not just, hey, you figure out, you overcome your shyness to share, but it's also those of us who are listening
And
creating a
she's cutting
safe
out.
space. Am I?
yeah. Oh, there's a lag. There's just a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay. I
that's a
don't,
little delay.
the rain has stopped, so I don't know why that's happening, but hopefully but that's what I hear you saying is that
Yeah,
it,
absolutely.
uh, yeah, almost giving us there is a lag, isn't there?
Just a tiny
Just a,
bit.
just a
Okay.
bit.
But giving us, so we should all remember that. We should remember to be there for that person, and we should remember
Yes, yes,
if we hear that pause, go ahead, because sometimes we're too shy to yell out, "You got
yeah,
this!"
yeah,
But
Right. Yeah.
we need to do
yeah,
that for each other.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that interpretation. But yeah,
Yeah.
so would you like me to read maybe one or two poems in the interest of time?
Please,
Yes.
Okay,
please.
I did bring my new book, Caulbearer, but I think I'll read um, online. I have some selections from my book, The Buddha Wonders If She Is Having a Midlife Crisis.
Oh, good.
And maybe I'll read one of the fun poems from there. So, in this book, which came out of Phoenicia Publishing in Montreal in 2018, I don't know why I kept writing these sort of like they were becoming persona poems with a Buddha in them, but the Buddha imagined in so many different ways. Because, when you go to yoga sometimes or meditation, people will say things like, I, I greet the Buddha in you, or some form of that, which to
Hmm.
me means already that we have in everyone. I guess the seed of transformation is already in each one. So then that gave me permission to imagine the Buddha as anyone and not just the Buddha we see in art or
Hmm.
in Eastern.
Hmm.
And I'm not Buddhist. So, okay, so this one is called The Buddha Walks a Mile in Her Shoes at the local community college for Women's History Month. With the other men who signed up for the event, he rummages through boxes of women's shoes looking for a pair that will fit. "You want socks with those, bro?" asks the office assistant as he gingerly slips on a pair of open toe leopard print wedge platforms. He wiggles his foot around a couple of times before he can slip it in. His bunion always gives him trouble. They're getting ready to walk around the quad, past the student dorms, and down to the plaza in the middle of the mall, where a safe counselor will hand out pamphlets with statistics on how many women on college campuses get raped, assaulted, victimized in domestic relationships. The Buddha is disturbed by these stories. He cannot fathom the hatred and the violence, the displaced self loathing that seeks its target in female bodies, the suffering. He recalls the brothels along the coast, the sad eyes of women in the windows, the way in his own hometown there are still fathers who think daughters don't need to go to school, households where girls are made to take their sleeping pallet outside to the porch or behind the kitchen when they have their period. He hitches his robe a little higher around his ankles. He adjusts his stride, determined not to wobble or fall.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh, oh, and Lucy, you did what you talked about poems do. There was all of me experienced that poem and even a full range of emotions because in the beginning there was humor.
hmm,
And yeah, wow. Thank you for that.
yeah.
Yeah. Is there time to read one more?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna thumb through and see. Okay, maybe this one, since we are living in the times we are in. So this is from Caulbearer. I hope you check it out. There is an online study and reading guide at Black Lawrence Press. This is a poem called This Is No Longer the Beginning. Almost everything has happened. This is where we're stuck searching for that original light. How it's gone from the eye of the fish that wriggled onto land, the words from a lost Eden indecipherable from text speak on a screen. Think of Aristotle's idea of beauty, his first principles of order and symmetry, a dancer dead center on a stage performing, multiplied as virtual through millions of screens. As first person narrators introducing ourselves, sometimes we talk of chosen rather than biological family. A child whistles an old movie tune in the alley, not knowing where he first heard it. Ultramarathoners study the terrain and weather, pulling long swigs from gallon-sized BPA-free water bottles. This is still early on, years before the very last final thunderclap. No rescue ship, no rosy-fingered dawn. Skateboarders congregate below the expressway to admire murals a la Banksy on gray concrete, though they didn't learn figure drawing with charcoal sticks. They'll try a new flip, kickflip, impossible. This is an opening, perhaps a move, something that proceeds refreshingly without cold calculation. This is the part where wheels of gas-guzzling vehicles begin to turn up in empty lots, where quiet electric cars and hybrid vans whiz through the streets before or after the bridge's brittle collapse. This is the in-between. Is that thing once called complication better adorned as liminal space? Not simple, but not untenable. Overnight, new cities emerge out of the fog, populated by migrants from all Earth's quarters. A billion visa stamps, a billion real IDs. Distrust still patrols terminals in a nondescript uniform with sagging hems. He waves a metal detector. He opens knapsacks, turns luggage inside out, asks whether there's curry or dried fish. This is the part where the plot can veer in some audacious, unexpected direction.
Mm.
Oh,
You.
Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you
wow.
so much.
Thank you. Karen, do you want to say something before I bring us to
I
our
just want to thank you so much for sharing all of this great goodness with us today. Oh,
hmm Yes. Yeah.
mm,
Thank you so much for being our guest. And um that last poem, okay, there was a prompt I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure about which prompt I was going to do. But between that poem and the card, The Fork in the Road, I know this is the prompt that I should do. It's the one that's been sitting back there going, do me, do me. Um, so I'm an astrologer and I am a bit obsessed with it. And Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Okay. And Aquarius is a humanitarian sign. It's a sign of progressive thinking. Um, and uh, Pluto is a planet that it it destroys or destructs, but it replaces what it takes. And I feel that that is what is happening right now. It replaces what it takes with something even better than you could have imagined. Okay. And so you can think about it like sometimes you go through a divorce or a breakup and you think, this is horrible, it's horrible. But on the other side of that, your life becomes this gift that you never could have imagined from where you were
Mm,
standing. And I feel like for me, things that are happening right now, I feel like there's a destruction. And even if it's just to give me hope, I feel like that Pluto and Aquarius is means there there will be something even better than what I could have imagined on the other side of this. And I feel like it's really interesting because it's in Aquarius and Aquarius is humanitarian, and what's happening right now feels so much anti that
Mhm.
that
yes.
I feel like we're going to turn like as a
Mhm.
people, as a collective,
Mhm.
like we're waking not that we weren't everyone's at different stages of awareness, but I feel hopeful.
Mm,
And so the prompt is, and you can dance this, you can write this, you can draw this, you can stitch this, whatever you're doing. It's to let that art be your meditation, that creation be your meditation, and make, create that world that is better than anything you could have imagined. What would you have it be?
Mhm.
What what
mm,
what do you envision? What
Yeah.
what colors are it? What does it smell like? What
mm,
does it feel like in your body to be a member of that world? Like that's that's the prompt for today.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's like
yeah.
what comes after the end of my poem.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. You were reading that poem, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, it's
yeah."
like
Yeah.
serendipity, right?
hmm
Yeah.
No
Yes,
planning.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank y'all so much for all
Thank
being
you.
here today. Oh, I
Mm.
always forget about this part. I get so snapped up. Like, comment, subscribe, show Louisa the love. Like, I mean, oh my goodness, there's so much love to show you. You are love. Like, we're so grateful for you. Thank you for being our guest. And
Thank you so much. This was so fun to have a conversation with both of you. And I love your prompt and I love the energy that you're bringing to this series.
Oh,
So
thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.